Okay, well it's a little dark in there yet, but you can see I've finished the intakes here. I've polished them just enough to where I can see that I've got everything smooth as I need it to be, because we're not gonna polish the intakes. You know, they get a rough finish, because the rough finish is going to flow better than a smooth surface is. The exhaust will get polished, because there you're just trying to help prevent carbon buildup. But yeah, the intakes get I'm going to re-roughen these up a little bit before I send it out. And let me reposition here and I'll give you a shot of the exhaust. Okay, here's a shot of one of the exhaust ports. That is polished. It's just it'll look a little better once it's all cleaned up, get all the loose metal off of there. And the exhaust ports were a little bit of a challenge because they're very, very small. Even with Dremel sized buffing tools, there's just places you can't get in there. You couldn't even fit your finger through there if you wanted to. The valve guide protrudes in there quite a bit. There's hardly any extra. If you can focus in there, see, it's very, very small space. So you know, I did what I could. I got this end polished, and then from the combustion chamber side it's polished pretty well also. Let me see if we can get some of that done here. Yeah, it's a little dark in there. Yeah, but those are polished up. And yeah, we're just about done with this part. I'm going to, like I said, re-roughen up the intakes, and then it's going to be ready to send out to the machine shop. We're going to get the surface of the head milled, and just clean it up so it'll have a good gasket surface to seal to. And we're going to get the valves and the valve seats cut so that they'll seal properly as well. And then we'll reassemble it, and it's back out to Bill. Okay guys, you can see here I've cleaned up all the metal shavings, and some of it's parts of the abrasive bits and stuff too. But you can see, compared to a credit card, you can see that I haven't removed just a ton of material. It's not just making the ports bigger. You know, anybody can make ports bigger, and sure, it'll flow on a flow bench. Sure, I could put tons of air through there on a flow bench. It's not going to make the bike run good. It's not about removing a ton of material, it's where the material's removed. Okay guys, now that we have the cylinder head back from the machine shop, we're going to reassemble it, but everything is all about cleanliness now. You can see I've cleaned the workbench. I've laid down clean towels, because you don't want this the surface where the gasket's going to meet here to get scratched up, or you know, we just don't want anything to go bad here. And this has been through a parts washer at the machine shop, where the head got milled, the valve seats got cut, and the valves themselves got cut. Yeah, been through the parts washer. I bring it back here, and I took a rag with WD-40 and wiped down all the surfaces that I could get to. You don't want any extra metal to be floating around in your motor, obviously. And one issue we came upon was when the valves were being cut here. I don't know if you can see this real greatly. The exhaust valves were fine. He was able to get the correct angle for them to seat there, and there's still a little bit of material on the bottom here. The intake valves had been beaten, you know, just from wear or whatever. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let's see what we can get. This way. Okay. You can see how keep out of the light here. Yeah. See how this is dished out? You know, by the time he would cut the angle into this, it would no longer have the proper diameter. You know, it just wouldn't fit anymore. It's just beaten into the seats. and they were all like that. He cut one of them all the way down, and you could see it was visibly smaller than it needed to be. It's weird how the intakes were all beat up, the exhausts were fine. Who knows? So now we're going to reassemble this and get it back out. And yeah, we cleaned up all the carbon. It's all looking like new here. Go back this way. There we go. And it's all pretty. See, and we had polished the exhaust ports, you know, to prevent carbon buildup. When the guy at the machine shop cleaned this up, it kind of put not a roughened surface, but just took the shine off of it. These are still, you know, they're basically the same. It's just they don't shine anymore like polish, which isn't a big issue. Another quick note I forgot to mention here is as we're reassembling, I'm going to put the valves in. I'm going to put new valve seals on there. You always want to replace the valve seals when you rebuild something. But when you put the valves in, you're going to want to use some assembly lube. Put some kind of lube in there. You don't want dry on dry anytime you're starting up metal. And I don't have the cams here, but when they install the cams, they're going to want to do the same thing. On the initial startup, expect some smoke. A little bit of smoke isn't going to be a big problem as long as your engine lasts. If you assemble it dry, you're going to have all kinds of troubles. You're going to wish you'd seen smoke. Okay, it's all finished. You can see we've got the valves back in. Everything's cleaned up as much as we could possibly get it. Put the shafts back in that hold the rockers. Whole thing's assembled. Brand new valve guide seals. Everything's lubed and ready to go. We're going to ship this one back to Bill, and hopefully his cart's going to run good. I hear he's going to put this in a cart or something.